Thank you, members. Thank you, members, for your patience, particularly since I think we all know the outcome. So thank you for patiently listening as those of us on my side sort of get our last shot at this. And I don't have any charts, and I think Mr. Turner is coming up shortly after me, so you may end up forgetting what I have to say anyway. But first of all, it's been fascinating to watch the last couple of weeks. You know, when we stood up here and passed HB1 the first time, I said, this is your school finance vote, members. Don't get on my back when I lay out a plan based on these numbers, because this is your vote. And it's been fascinating watching the last few weeks as we've had these battling plans with my plan or plans or dozens of plans, and Mr. Eisler's first runs and Mr. Eisler's second runs and the Senate's runs and the leadership's runs, and everybody running around with these runs saying, hey, Hochberg, this is unacceptable to my school district. Look, this other school district is losing less. This is unacceptable because the other school district's losing less. Well, if it's unacceptable for your school district, it should be unacceptable for the other school district and for every school district in here. And the only way you fix that, other than me taking from yours and you taking from me, is to put more in. And so when you look at those school finance runs tonight or tomorrow or whenever, and you see that Mr. Smith's districts may be losing more than Mr. Quintanilla's district, it's not just unacceptable to Mr. Smith's district and we should take it from Mr. Quintanilla and give it to Mr. Smith. The reason is, if it's unacceptable because there's not enough money in the deal. And that could have been fixed pretty simply logistically, because we're now to the point where the deficit in school funding is far less than the amount of money that is in the rainy day fund and that we anticipate to be in the rainy day fund. I'm convinced that those numbers are unacceptable to many of us, Republican and Democrat, and that's one reason for me not to vote for that aggregate number and not to vote for this budget. But I think the bigger reason for me not to vote for it is that I fear that my friend Mr. Otto is correct. John has said many times we shouldn't use much more of the rainy day fund or any more of the rainy day fund because we're going to come back and have a worse problem. And I think he's right. I'm convinced he's right, because we can't even get back to this funding level without more revenue. We're at this funding level because we have used every trick in the book. If anybody had another one out there that we didn't use, you know, bring it forward now. And I think there's some people who would like to add it in on some conference report somewhere. I'm sure we can find a place for it. But we practically used every trick in the book. And you can't use those tricks twice. So next time, just to stay where we are, we're going to have to find new revenue to replace those tricks. Look at schools. Jimmy Don, you and I know that one of the first things we said is we can hold that August payment off to September. We've done that before. Schools are pretty much okay with it. They get it. It is worth $2 billion. We can't do it the next time because it's already been deferred. So to just get back to where we are, we've got to find $2 billion more just to pay for that trick. Oh, and by the way, somehow in the budget, Mr. Pitts, y'all managed to call it $2.3 billion. So the foundation school program is really short another $300 million because the 2.3 isn't the right number to use for that deferral. But whether it's 2 or 2.3, it isn't going to be there next time. Since we all seem to agree on that, Republican and Democrat, what I'm disappointed about and what I can't figure out is why we've done nothing about that. Not a thing. We see the train coming. We're standing on the tracks. We're not telling anybody to slow down. We're not getting off the tracks. We're just, well, here it's coming. Better save the rainy day fund. And we'll come back here next time with exactly the same problem. Only the money will be bigger and the tricks will be gone. And then what do we do? The fact that we haven't done anything convinces me that this is not a one-time budget cut. that it is the desire of this legislature to keep cutting and to keep going down further. And if you want to see unacceptable school runs, they're going to start looking like the ones we looked at the beginning of this session when we were down 9.8. This is a rich and wonderful state. It's a state that I love. It's a state of my birth. My parents took me away from this state for a number of years when I was a kid, but for the last 40 years I've been back here, and I came back and stayed back because this was a place where we could do anything. Texas was the biggest. Then we learned about Sarah Palin, and she had another state, but they're too far away. They're up there near Russia. We're still the biggest, as far as I'm concerned. We're the biggest, and we're the best, and we were the greatest, and we set our goals high. We reached for the stars, literally and figuratively. We built, with tax dollars, great institutions of higher education. We built in the district I used to represent the greatest cancer center perhaps in the world. I like to think it's number one. I have a hat in my office signed by 2 Nobel Prize winners at a university that is admittedly a private university, but it still receives huge amounts of federal and state money for research, and works with the Texas Medical Center that has huge amounts of state and federal money for research, because we set those goals high. We said it's not good enough to be like every other state. We need to be better. If we give up that quest, we might as well take our name off the license plates, because we'll be just like everybody else. That's not why I came back here. It's not what I wanted to build here. We can do better. We must do better. And we must do better soon. Thank you, members.